Hello everyone, I'm John Higgins, contributing writer to Film and TV Now, and I'm delighted to welcome one and all to this interview special with the filmmaking team behind the new period drama fantasy 4 Days to Eternity, Konstantin Korenchuk and Simon Pilarski, who co-wrote and co-directed the film. It's just completed its festival run at the Paris International Film Festival, which played online, where it's had its world premiere. The film is based on the mysterious legend of Idelia Dub, who in this film awakens injured in the ruins of Gloomy Castle, but also just has nothing more than a diary, offering some clues to how she got there and what her past was. Konstantin, Simon, a warm welcome to you.
Thank you very much, John. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thanks a lot.
So I did a bit of research. I mean, from what I've been reading on the notes, it's based on a legend of Idelia Dub, who was this mysterious woman. Could you tell us more about this character that you based upon, and also the whole context of this whole world? Because it's not something I'm that familiar with. I mean, I know of folk legends like the Grimm's fairy tales and stuff like this, and there's a hint of things like something like what Terry Gilliam or Guillermo del Toro would do. So could you tell us a bit more about how you sort of conceived this concept and the script and everything else?
Yeah, sure. So the legend basically comes from an area where we grew up very close to. Well, until today, nobody knows if it happened and what happened and if it happened at all. So, but the people say, if this legend really happened, then it was at the castle ruin in Lahnstein. It's a city close to Koblenz.
It's in the Middle Rhine Valley, yeah.
Exactly. It's located close to Wiesbaden and so on, and the cities where we are located. So we heard about this legend, I think, 10 years ago, when we were 18, 19. And at this time, this was already the moment where we had the idea of making maybe one day a feature film about that. Of course, nobody of us knew if it will be done and if at all and so on, but that's the way we went. And now here we are. So it's a very dark, very mysterious legend from a place where we are located, exactly.
Okay, so one of the other aspects of the film, which really is quite topical at the moment, because we are dealing with, certainly in the UK, there's a lot of issues about colonialism and the effect of slavery and stuff, is that you touch on the issue of human zoos, where people from Africa were exhibited. Now, this is quite a powerful, dark, very taboo statement. So tell us some more about this side of things, where that part of the story came from.
Yes, I can. So we have this legend, and then we have to find in the development part, more a thing that's go more deeper and more emotional. So then we find the goal, the heart of the story was the love story between Idelia and Caven, who is an actor called Human Zoo. And at the research about the 19th century, we find more about these human zoos, and yeah, they were very hard and racistic, because they are people from all the world, from Africa, from Asia, were shown as wild people to a white audience. And yeah, and it's some historical people say it's also responsible for the racistic feeling for today in the yeah. And yeah, this was very interesting for us to put this in this story. And yeah Konstantin, maybe you can.
What also is interesting to add, we had also a meeting with like a historical witness, Theodor Vonia Michael, and he worked as a child at this kind of human zoos here in Germany. I think he was 3 or 4 years old, so very, very young. He was an extra at the human zoos. And he told us a little bit about these happenings, about his life and so on. And it was also a very useful research for our movie to integrate and to implement.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about your amazing cast. Some great performances here. I mean, it really captures the spirit of what the film, your intention is. So tell us more about the people how you cast, and tell us more about them.
Well, we saw the movie The Diary of Anne Frank with Lea van Acken in the main part. And from this moment, we knew that she would be very good for this role. So we had been looking for a cast several months ago, but
it was a long process. Yeah,
we had several names in it, and we didn't know, is it right, is it wrong? But when we saw this movie, we realized that if she says yes, this would be the perfect choice. So, and that's the way it went. So she said yes 2 years before the movie was shot. So she was she believed in the project from the very, very beginning. And after that, we saw Welcome to Germany. It's a comedy film from Germany about the refugee crisis. And Eric Kabongo played a refugee from I think it was Nigeria. Mm. And we liked him. We loved really his presence and charisma and the way he acts. And so we approached him, and he also said yes. And when we won the Hessian Film Prize with a short project of us, we met Andre Hennecke. It's an actor who already participated in more than 150 German and international productions. So he has done really, really much. And we asked him to play the villain of the film, Franz Hagerberg, who is the organizer of the Human Zoo. And yeah, he also said yes. So it was a very interesting thing, because from the actors we wanted to have for this project, we had no one saying no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it depends on the script, because in Germany there are not a lot of genre movies or mystery or thriller movies, so they all like the script, and then they say, okay, let's do this, and that was very a pleasure for us. Yeah.
Okay, well that's great, because often actors are always looking for a rarity or it's something different to what they normally get. So let's talk a little bit about the production team. I mean, how big was it, and tell us a bit more about them.
Yeah, well, I think first to mention everything about the production process of this film was so exceptional and so unusual that nobody believed in it in the beginning. Well, as Simon said, we have a genre film in Germany. We have a historical setting. We had big set constructions. So we built the whole castle ruin from scratch in a studio. And when we directed, wrote, and produced this movie, we were not even 30 years old. So at the beginning, the movie was rejected by everybody. But then we were pretty lucky to get production funding from Hessen Film. And several months later, we found also a private investor who invested in our film. And yeah, this was the life-saving step of the project. Otherwise, we would have probably have to quit it. So, and then when things moved forward, we had a crew on set. I think these were 30 people about, plus minus, and we had 32 shooting days. Mm-hmm. And one of the very, to say dangerous locations was the Felsenmeer. It's like a mountain full of rocks and full of stones, where people, when they go hiking, are already in danger. But when people are shooting and are carrying heavy equipment and 100 kilo heavy camera crane up this mountain full of rocks, and if you fall 3 meters deep in a hole. And there were also cases where the fire brigade had to be called to pull people out of these holes. Not in our cases. In our cases, everything went fine. but these were cases from the past when normal people went hiking. So this was a really dangerous and very difficult to move location. It was a logistic nightmare to shoot there.
And we did also the film rain on these rocks, and it was very dangerous with the actors, but nothing happened, so it's we're happy about it.
We had film rain, we had stunts, and we had SFX. So we were not filming just dialogues. We filmed really dangerous scenes in addition to the difficult ground to move.
Okay, so obviously you mentioned you shot in 32 days. I mean, you mentioned one of the perilous locations. I mean, where else did you shoot? I mean, where was the scene for the human zoo shot?
It was also very close to the Felsenmeer. It's called Bensheim. It's very close to Frankfurt, and it's a park. And we built up there every piece for the human zoo from scratch. So there was only a park and a small way to walk, and that's it. And the rest we built up.
Okay. And obviously you are co-directors of this film. So how did you two delegate responsibility? Did you, how did you divide the responsibility of directing? I mean, did you direct scenes together? Did you split them up?
Yes, the first process was, to state the directing point of view, was the storyboard. So we divided the film into parts, and I was storyboarding the first part, and Simon was storyboarding the second part. And because we are two filmmakers who think really visual, we would never leave it to a coincidence how to create a scene. So these were really detailed preparation work on the paper. And I think there was no one scene and no one shot in the movie which wasn't on paper in this storyboard. So we didn't improvise anything because it's not our way to go. So we want really to have it on paper. And when we worked on set, we had our shooting plan, and we also divided up the actors. So Simon, for example, worked always with Lea, and I worked always with Erik and Andre. Sometimes there were some crossovers if only one of the actors was on set, but it was also very time-saving that we divided the actors, and the actors had also one director to approach and not both telling stories at them simultaneously.
Okay.
And the preparation for the work with the actors we discussed before in the pre-production. So this was a very easy process at the set, I think. So
Okay.
And
so you made your first short film. I was quite fascinated. It's like €150 profit or something. And you named your company Sternenberg Films after the Sternenberg in 2012. I mean, what are your immediate and long-term goals for the company?
You mean the basic goals or the future goals?
Generally, because you've now made 4 Days to Eternity. This is going to be this is a really interesting movie that I hope will gain momentum and prominence in the market. It certainly is unique. It's a unique film. Well, I'm just interested to know what sort of creative plans and have you got in place for the company?
Yes, to say we got from Hessen Film, from the Hessen Film Fund, we got not only production funding, we got also the so-called talent package funding. It's a funding for the development of 3 future projects. So for us, it will be the second, the third, and the fourth project, which are in development right now. And we think these projects will be our next projects for the next 5 years. And also we are participating right now at the Berlinale co-production market, at Rotterdam Cinemat, at the JETS initiative, where we want to meet international co-productions. So to work with other countries and to help them closing financing and to organize the shoot in Germany. 1 year ago, we did also a German-Italian co-production. It's called Shortcut. It's a mystery thriller which was released in 700 cinemas in the US. and stood 1 week at the top 10 box office charts. And this was a really cool kicker. And so the strategy with international co-productions we want to pursue this year.
Okay. And you've had your world premiere at Paris, and what, just out of interest, what is the overall release and the festival and release strategy for the film? I mean, have you got any more festivals booked, and where can people actually go and see this film?
Because of COVID, it's very hard to tell, but at the moment we are planning with August or September in Germany for the release, and the rest of the world depends on the market and what happened with COVID. But I think this year or the end of this year is realistic to see the movie online or better at cinema. Yeah,
exactly. Okay. So the sales to other territories, they were taken 1 week ago at the EFM from our world sales. But when they will release it in their countries, it's open right now. So okay. Exactly. Okay. I think after the German cinema release,
yeah,
which will be.
But in Germany in August and September. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about your cinematic influences. I mean, I sort of sense this film sort of, there's a little, I felt like I was watching Guillermo del Toro and Terry Gilliam films, a bit like Brazil or The Fisher King or some of the darker elements. So tell us a bit more about your influences on this film and others.
Yeah, I can tell a little bit about when I was very young. My father had a very big bibliothek, I don't know what, of a lot of DVDs and Blu-rays, and I in a very early age I saw a lot of Stanley Kubrick movies and also Terry Gilliam, and I think one of my first big cinema things was Lord of the Rings saga from Peter Jackson, and I think for me it was very inspiring also to these days, because it's the story is very good, it's emotional, it's visual, very stylish, and it's not too it's too modern, it's timeless, I think so, and it's I think that's also for me very inspiring. And I think for Konstantin maybe also other movies.
Yeah, well, I made it a little bit the other way around. So when I was young, I grew up watching action movies. So I watched all the action movies from the 80s and from the 90s, and also a lot of action series, and I recorded them on VHS 15 years ago or something. And by the age of, I think, 17 or 18, I was then, of course, more open to interesting and drama movies. So what inspired me or us doing this project were also limited setting survival movies like 127 Hours from Danny Boyle, or Buried, the Spanish thriller with Ryan Reynolds. And if we also The Revenant from the visual style. And if we regard the part with the love and the romantic sides, then I think we were inspired by Douglas Sirk, and also by Titanic, which is one of my top favorite movies, and also the English Patient from Minghella. Okay. So these were the references we linked to when analyzing the genres, when analyzing the visual style and the storytelling style, making this film. But okay, the beginning for me were action movies.
Okay, well, that's an interesting combination. I mean, I get a sense of that with the film from various levels. There are different things, so that's quite an interesting one. So 2 final questions before we wrap up. What issues and themes are you keen to explore in future work?
Which projects, or?
Well, issues and themes. I mean, when you look at, you've already talked about your influences. I mean, you know, are you planning to do, would you like to sort of stay in this kind of interesting narrative, fantasy, dark noir elements, or are you interested in exploring more dramatic and more grounded, you know, contemporary films themes?
We want to focus on elevated genre films. That's our main focus that we also pursued the last 5 years. So elevated genre comes basically from the US, and it's quite interesting and unusual for Germany, because here in Germany are produced more comedies and history dramas, but elevated genre is nothing people can't understand what it is. So it's a combination of a common usual genre with an interesting, unusual and sophisticated idea or element which hasn't been told in any other film before. So in the case of the feature film, these were the human zoos and the legend and the combination of the both genres. So for the future, I think it would go too much into detail telling which topics we want to combine and which genre mixes we want to do, but to say in general, we want to make elevated genre movies, and I think we pretty like limited setting films. Mm-hmm. So movies which take place at one limited setting with 1, 2, 3 actors. We think it's a quite thrilling concept where you concentrate on the story instead of the special effects, and where you can also save money.
Okay. And so go on, Simon.
But we are also open for maybe in future science fiction or other genres, not only historical stuff, but we are specialized a little bit on this. So in future we will do also other genres. And it depends not only on the genre. For us, it's very important that it's this elevated part in it, and it's the interesting thing, the entertainment on one hand, and also the deeper meaning on the other hand. That's our goal.
Okay. And my final question is, what are you most proud of about 4 Days to Eternity?
Oh, that's a good question. What are we most proud?
Maybe the production value.
I think from the artistic side, it's really the creating this production value with so less money, because most projects with the money we have, they shoot WG dramas with, I don't know, 2 people in one room talking about relationship problems, and we created a period piece with stunning locations, stunning visual work. And from the producing side, I think it's this thing, we both against all odds. So everybody told you will never make this movie because it's this and this and that. And the movie was made, and now we had the world premiere, and now we move on. So I think it was like a little bit this prove them they're wrong.
Yeah. Okay. Well, listen, Konstantin and Simon, been an absolute pleasure to meet you guys today. Thank you so much for your time and insights. As mentioned, do keep your eyes open for 4 Days to Eternity as and when it's released in Germany and worldwide. I mean, as I say, we shall see what happens. As I say, it's had its world premiere at the Paris International Film Festival 2022. You can read more of my articles, interviews, and reviews at www.filmandtvnow.com. I got a review for 4 Days to Eternity, so you can read that. And you can see a replay of this interview on my official YouTube channel, John Higgins Film Review. Support independent films and filmmakers like Konstantin and Simon. Support the cinemas as they reopen. And remember, a film's not just for a festival, it's also forever. So thank you once again, Konstantin and Simon, and thank you for watching.
Thank you very much, John. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, John.